The Xenobiological Research Station orbiting Kethra Prime had seen many mysteries in its 12-year operation, but none quite like this. Dr. Velness, a four-armed Quellan scientist with crystalline eye stalks, stood before the observation window, her expression unreadable even by her own species standards. Behind the reinforced glass, three juvenile Kethari cubs huddled in the far corner of their enclosure, trembling at her presence. "This is unprecedented," she muttered, her translator implant converting her whistling speech into standard galactic. "We've tried 17 different species as handlers. The cubs react with terror to every single one." Beside her, Commander Thexyler of the Galactic Conservation Corps shifted his bulk, a mountain of chitinous plates and ceremonial scarring. Perhaps they're simply traumatized. Their parents were killed in the colonial expansion conflict. Fear would be natural. Natural, yes. But this? Velness gestured at the cubs with two of her four hands. "They won't eat. They won't sleep properly. At this rate, they'll die within a standard week. The Kethari are already an endangered species. These three are irreplaceable." The door to the observation deck hissed open. Both aliens turned to see a human walk in, short by galactic standards, with brown skin and kind eyes that crinkled at the corners. He wore the simple gray uniform of a maintenance technician, a tool belt hanging loosely at his hip. "You called for me?" the human asked, his voice carrying an accent that marked him as being from somewhere called Earth's eastern regions. "Ah, yes. Aaron, correct?" Commander Thexyler consulted his datapad. "You're the atmospheric systems specialist." "That's right. You said there was an urgent problem with the biocontainment wing." Aaron approached the window, then stopped abruptly. His eyes widened. "Wait, are those Kethri cubs? I thought they were extinct in the wild." "Nearly," Velness said grimly. "And these three may not survive much longer if we can't." She fell silent. All three cubs had lifted their heads. Their large, luminous eyes, 6 on each cub, arranged in a crown around their feline faces, had fixed on Aaron. One of them, the smallest with silvery fur marked by black stripes, took a tentative step forward. "By the void," Thexyler breathed. "They're moving toward him." Aaron stood very still. "Should I leave?" "No," Velness nearly shouted. "Don't move. This is the first interest they've shown in anything since we rescued them." The smallest cub, Sola, according to the enclosure manifest, continued forward. Her movements were hesitant, her body low to the ground in a posture that spoke of deep fear. Yet she came closer to the glass, drawn by something none of the scientists could understand. "Remarkable," Velness whispered. "Aaron, would you be willing to enter the enclosure?" "What?" "I'm not trained for, neither is anyone else, apparently. Every xenozoologist, every animal behaviorist, every empathic species we've consulted, the cubs fear them all. But you," she trailed off, studying the human with new interest. "You." They approach. Aaron looked at the cubs, then at the two senior scientists. Something in his expression softened. "If you think it might help them, I'll try." 10 minutes later, Aaron stood inside the enclosure, having been hastily briefed on Kethari biology and behavior. The cubs had retreated to their corner when he first entered, but now Sola was inching forward again, her siblings watching from a distance. "Hey there, little one," Aaron said softly, crouching down to make himself smaller. "I'm not going to hurt you." From the observation deck, Velness recorded everything with a dozen different sensors. "This makes no sense. Humans are predators, apex predators on their world. The cubs should fear him most of all." "Perhaps," Thexyler mused, "that is precisely why they don't." In the enclosure, Sola had come within 3 meters of Aaron. She sat back on her haunches, her 6 eyes fixed on his face. Aaron slowly extended his hand, palm up, and waited. "Humans are strange creatures," Thexyler continued. "I've studied them extensively since they joined the galactic community. They're the only species that domesticated other predators on their world. Not just herbivores for food. They took wolves, apex predators that competed with them, and made them into companions." "That's a myth, surely," Velness said, but her tone was uncertain. "No myth. They call them dogs now. They live in human homes, sleep in their beds, play with their young. And cats, smaller predators, birds of prey, even reptiles. Humans have a bizarre compulsion to care for things that have no genetic or evolutionary connection to them." Sola had reached Aaron's hand. She sniffed it carefully, her small nostrils flaring. Then, with a movement so quick the scientists almost missed it, she pressed her forehead against his palm that Aaron's breath caught. Very slowly, he began to stroke the cub's head, his fingers gentle behind her ears. A sound emerged from Sola, a rhythmic thrumming that made the air vibrate. "She's purring," Wellness said in wonder. "I've only seen that in archived videos of cubs with their parents." The other two cubs, emboldened by their siblings' bravery, began to creep forward. "I had a cat when I was young," Aaron said quietly, still stroking Sola. "She was scared of everything when we found her. My mother said some animals just know when they're safe. They can feel it, somehow." "Preposterous," Wellness said, but there was no conviction in her voice. She was watching as all three cubs now clustered around Aaron. Their fear seemingly evaporated. They climbed on him, purring and chirping, their small paws kneading at his uniform. "Humans produce oxytocin when they interact with creatures they find endearing," Thexyler noted, still consulting his datapad. "But so do many species. That can't be the full explanation. Maybe it's not about biology," Aaron said, looking up at the observation window. One of the cubs had curled up in his lap, while Sola had draped herself across his shoulders. "Maybe they just know that humans have a really hard time letting things die when we think we can save them. Even things that aren't human." Wellness and Thexyler exchanged glances. "It's foolish," Wellness said. "Inefficient. Emotionally compromising." "Yes," Thexyler agreed. "But in this case, it may have just saved 3 lives." Below them, Aaron began to hum, a wordless melody from his homeworld. The cubs' purring synchronized with the rhythm, and for the first time since their rescue, they closed their eyes in peaceful sleep. "I suppose," Wellness said slowly, "we should discuss a new position on the station. Senior xenozoological handler. It would require Aaron to work with the cubs daily." "I suspect," Thexyler replied, "he would accept." They were right. When asked, Aaron simply looked at Sola sleeping peacefully in his arms and said, "Someone has to." That, perhaps, explained humanity better than any scientific analysis ever could. Not that they were fearless, or the strongest, or the smartest, but that when faced with something small and scared and in need of help, their answer was always the same. Someone has to. And for humans, someone usually meant me.